Hey.
Happy Sunday! How exciting is this? We're gonna get this party started with Lisa Chernick here. So excited to see you today. We are getting this party started. Oh my goodness. So people, I see them loading in now. And happy Sunday, Lisa. So great to see you. This is such a treat for me, and I can't wait to share your unbelievable expertise with my following. We've got people just loading in. Guys, great to see you all here today. Let us know in the chat where you are, where you're phoning in from, and what you hope to hear from Lisa, because we will be able to really pick her brain and get, she's got lots and lots of ideas for us today, some recipes. I've got some ideas for us, and we hope that this is just the first of many days where we spend our Sunday with Lisa. So guys, just for a little background, I have known Lisa for many, many years. We actually worked together for many years at Weight Watchers. Lisa was the recipe developer, and you did all of their cookbooks. You did the online and digital, all of their recipes. You're a hugely experienced recipe developer and content creation guru. You didn't just work for Weight Watchers, but for Condé Nast and all around. You yourself are a James Beard Foundation Book Award judge, but also you're a nominee for digital writing and editing. So you are a rock star. We are so lucky to have you here and to be reunited. So Lisa and I were together in the content department. We sat very close to one another in the marketing department and spent many years working together. And you were always just coming up with the freshest, most amazing things. So now that you're here with Target 100, I'm so happy you're here. So
happy too. I am so happy. This is so exciting. And whenever I think back to those days, working with you was seriously a highlight. Like it was a good group. We were like a nice little engine that worked really, really well together. And it was a really fun time there. So I have such good memories of our days, our days.
Yes, it was one of those magical times, right? We've all had those where we're working with a team and it's like magic in a bottle and you just get each other. So to have you here helping us out at Target 100 is like a dream come true, to bring you into this magical team, because this is a magical team of great people who are all so excited to share you. So, so you and I had a lot of fun planning this even, and just thinking about fall and wanting to give people very easy, usable, recipes and tips. You've got a lot to share with us today. So I'm going to let you kick it off and share. Why did you decide on what you're sharing today?
So for me, I feel like in this moment, as things are shifting back into that fall vibe and everybody's sort of like, oh, summer, we're watching it sort of, shift away, but it's still warm out and there's still, kind of some of the really great produce is still out there to enjoy, but it's like our mindset is very fall. I started thinking about the way that my cooking is changing. And one of the things I'm going to start doing a lot more that I love to do, but I feel like now that it's September, I like have total license to like just go for it, is all the sheet pan cooking that I love to do. I love the sheet pans. And I make so many things with the sheet pans in different ways. And I like to do things where you don't have to like stagger the timing. It doesn't have to get complicated. You just sort of put it all on there and you just let it go. And I think the key is, just getting the right ingredients and kind of the right flavors, and, you're off to the races. So,
what I love so much, Lisa, is that Target 100 is about simplicity, and even a sheet pan recipe can start to get overwhelming if like first you have to put on this vegetable, cook it for a while, then you got to put on that and then roast it and then turn it, and then like I love what you're saying is like this is going to be like a one and done type deal. You don't have to like stagger it and wonder, especially I want people to know a little bit more about you, because you are a mom of two, right? You have children. So a lot of my folks have kids. They're getting back to school right now and things are crazy. I have two kids. Like everything's just nuts right now. So they know you're in the same boat. You're running in sometimes after working all day and shoving something in the oven. And you also had a weight journey of your own.
Right, exactly. And so when I'm cooking, I'm thinking like, okay, how is this going to work for me and my husband? And we're both very conscious, and we are very much eating in the Target 100 sort of style. That's our thing. And then I have two daughters. One just turned 20, which is crazy. And she's at college, and she just left for the semester. So now it's just the younger daughter, Juliet, who's home, and she just had her birthday yesterday. So now she's 17. Yay, senior in high school. So yeah, and she's a pretty, pretty flexible eater, but I do try to make sure like I'm incorporating what everybody wants. And that's why this sheet pan thing kind of works really well for us, because we can do, I can kind of change up what I put on there to make sure that everybody's kind of like, oh yeah, I like that. I'll eat that. That's good. So that's how I ended up with kind of the main blueprint of this. Okay. So we saw this gorgeous recipe in the New York Times cooking, which was this beautiful sheet pan feta. And, it had this gorgeous, like, broccolini arched around the feta slabs. And it had, beautiful preserved lemons and wedges of red onion. Okay, well,
I'll find it and share it. You keep going, but I'm going to find this photo because it's so beautiful.
It's beautiful, and actually it was styled for the shoot by a colleague, Barrett Washburn, who I work with a lot, and a lot of the Weight Watchers cookbooks we've done together, etc. And everything he does, he makes it look so beautiful. So I saw this and I was like, oh my God, it's so gorgeous. I'm like, but there's no way anybody's going to want the preserved lemons. No one's going to eat the red onion. So I'm like, okay, let's do it like, but everybody loves feta, right? So my younger daughter is a big fan of corn, especially like corn on the cob in the summer. So we started bringing like, corn in as on rotation as a regular sort of item in the mix. So basically what it ends up being is just, sheet pan. And now Liz, I showed you this just right before we started, but I have my sheet pans here to talk about this whole, so I really use these like all the time. And I have 3 different sizes. The one that the main go-to, actually for a family, I'm going to my XL size sheet pan. So just so you can get an idea relative, this is like extra large. It's not 1.5, it's just a little extra large. And this is the regular. So you can see the sort of size situation there. It's a little bigger. So if I'm doing a meal for 4 people, or even for 3 with Charlotte at college, I'll use this XL. And so what we do is we just basically, it's a really simple recipe where we'll start with like the feta. I happen to love, I have access to this French feta that they have on Fresh Direct, where I sometimes order groceries. And it's like a slightly less salty, less briny, and more creamy kind of feta, which I don't know, for whatever reason, it's turned into the crowd pleaser for my group.
Okay.
You kind of put that, on the sheet pan. And then pretty much what you do is you just kind of like, I shave the ears of corn. I just, with a knife, just take it right off. And I'll do maybe 1 or 2 ears, because that's my daughter's favorite thing. I'll have a bunch of cherry tomatoes. We'll do little broccoli florets. And then you just kind of drizzle olive oil, salt, not too much salt because the feta's salty, but on the veggies, some pepper, and then a little bit of cumin and maybe some red pepper flakes if I'm in the mood for like a little heat. And you just kind of like zhuzh it around with your hands, like just like that. Mm-hmm. And it just goes in the oven at like, I don't remember what the original recipe said to do, but what I tend to do is like 410, a little higher than 400. And it's like 25 minutes. And you start to see everything getting a little bit of a golden hue. And that's it. That's dinner. And everybody's like totally happy. And it's like,
I'm going to share this photo. Can you
yes.
do that?
Yeah.
I mean, that was the inspiration.
Right? And like, who wouldn't want to have something like that on the table? Right?
I mean, just beautiful. So beautiful. Just beautiful, right? So this created the blueprint basically, yeah. And you've gone from there. So
I've gone from there, and my version is a little different. And I love in the spring, I'll put asparagus in as well when I feel like that feels like the right thing. And then I was also thinking that, in the like talking about this whole fall vibe, I can totally also go into Brussels sprouts. If they're tiny, I'll have them. If they're bigger, I'll quarter them. And like that cubed butternut squash I can get at the grocery store already chopped up for me. And I just swap that in, and it feels very like autumn. And I'll also switch the feta for maybe, depending on whatever is, anybody's in the mood for, I love the chicken sausages, like the pre-cooked. Again, you don't really need to worry. They'll be done at the same time that the veggies are done. Everything's going to all happen in that 20 to 25-minute window. And it's like, this is so awesome. Anyway, I do this a lot, like a lot.
I just love it. Well, and guys, I'm watching the chat, so you can ask us any questions you like, okay? Because this is just meant to be of service to you as we go into the fall. I love your ideas of the different sized sheet pans. I think,
Yes.
first of all, I'm curious as to, is that your whole dinner? Like, is that like, how do you plate it? Like, what do you eat with it? Like,
Right. So sometimes what I've been doing is, it kind of depends. Like if we're like not wanting a lot and everybody like is just sort of like, oh, I'm good, we'll just leave it at that. But there are some nights when I can just tell everybody's really starving. So I'll do like a whole bunch of brown rice and I'll just have everybody plop it onto the brown rice, and then everybody's very happy. Which also, by the way, we are huge fans of the frozen brown rice that you can get like from all the grocery stores, like the pack of 3, and you put it in the microwave for like 3 minutes, and it comes out and it's totally perfect. So it's not like this 45-minute production to have the brown rice. So it's like right there. So that's the other quickie thing that I'll do.
And I'm thinking like that would probably age really well, the fetas and the vegetables and all of that, like that I could see myself actually using it in the morning, like almost like a hash under eggs.
100%. We've totally done that for breakfast. Exactly.
Yeah.
And even like one of my daughters loves incorporating it into like scrambled eggs. She just like mixes it in like kind of hash style, more or less.
Right.
And it's like, it's one of those things that you get a lot of mileage out of it. You can easily just, if it's just 2 people, make the same amount and use that for lunches the next day. We do that a lot too.
That's it, is like, I'm trying to always help people, help myself, because I could imagine my boys would love that, but they would need the chicken sausages on there or some sort of kielbasa worked in, just because they're like all about the protein and all about their muscles right now. So they're gonna be like, where's the beef, Mom? So, and David loves a little spice. So I might do a spicy Italian sausage in there, right? To give it like a little kick. Yeah. I love that idea.
Yeah. And in terms of like seasoning and flavor, like I'll do the cumin, but sometimes, sometimes we'll switch it up. Like I had, for a while, I was really into this like harissa blend seasoning that I bought from, maybe I was at Whole Foods or something, and I was sprinkling that on all my sort of roasted veggie situation. And
there's a question coming right now, which I think is perfectly timed here, which is she's asking, would you add additional seasonings to the chicken sausage, the butternut squash, Brussels sprouts, or is the sausage enough in terms of flavor?
Yeah, you could add that kind of thing. Like, you could do the dried seasonings just to the vegetables. But another really yummy one that I like to sometimes do is like a little drizzle at the end of like like I do a little maple syrup in Dijon, and you kind of put that on and just give it a final toss. Like I wouldn't sort of bother to cook with it, because after 25 minutes in a really hot oven, it's going to kind of disappear. But at the end, the heat from like the hot cooked food mixing with a little bit of maple and Dijon mustard is like heaven. You can just transfer it right off the tray and mix it and put it in a bowl.
That's amazing. I mean, you're like teaching me as I listen to you right now, like, oh, you're probably right. Like when a food is hot, like if I sprinkle a little bit of extra seasoning on there or something like the maple Dijon, it'll be much stronger there at the end than getting so incorporated. I never thought of that.
And especially with something like maple, which I really like using a lot. I like it even more than honey, and I do use it kind of frequently, but I always only put it on at the very end, because I feel like I'm wasting all that sugary goodness by putting it on and then like having it just cook to nothing in the oven. Like you don't get any of that yumminess if you put on to cook it. It's for me anyway.
And I was going to say, like your idea of just the cumin, right? Or just the rotation from one spice to another, right? If you did the harissa one night, the cumin another night, the dish completely changes. You change the vegetables. I've got these little bitty, I just thought of this, these teeny tiny potatoes. They're called peewee potatoes.
Oh, I love those. I love them so much.
From Whole Foods, or you can find them anywhere, but look how they're just tiny. I mean, they're, they're
marbles.
this big. right? So
Oh,
you can
cute.
put something like that on there to add a little starch, right? So
That's actually a really good one. And
yeah,
those look, again, because they're nice and small, you sort of don't have to do any extra anything. It's just like you're going to slice a cherry tomato and have you can slice a little peewee potato. It's like this.
yep.
It's gonna probably take the same amount of time they'll cook through. You'll be good.
Yeah, people are asking if you coat the pan or are you a parchment paper person? Like, how do you deal with
Um,
the pan?
I love parchment, but for this, I don't even bother because the olive oil that I'm drizzling on kind of it just does what needs, it takes care of that.
Yeah.
And, everything is kind of, done. And I don't mind. What I realize is if the oven's nice and hot, like this is the other thing that I think sometimes people get bummed out because things stick to the pan and they don't know why, and it's a big mess and they can't get the, if your oven is nice and hot and your stuff has been, tossed enough with oil, it's not going to stick on the pan really much at all. I mean, maybe there'll be a corner here and there, but if you go in with the spatula at the end, it'll just all come off really nicely. And if anything, you'll get a little nice caramelized bits, which I think kind of adds to the final taste being really good. So I'm kind of all for that. I also, I mean, that comes in with the idea that you kind of have to keep an eye. Like I'd say, put it in, and maybe even at like 18 minutes, just take a look and make sure you're not getting, because people's ovens are different,
Yeah. Yeah. But again, you just taught me something of all these years, and I love to cook. Like, put it in, wait till the oven gets nice and hot.
Yep, nice and hot.
And then
Right.
you're drizzling those. So you're putting the stuff on
Putting it onto the sheet pan. There's the oil and the dried spices. I'm doing all that usually.
You're tossing it around a little bit.
Yeah.
Right there. Don't use a bowl. Don't use anything. Just do it right there.
I mean, sometimes I'm just too lazy. I just don't even want to have an extra bowl. I'm just like, why bother? I just throw it on and I use my hands. If I do it that way, then maybe I'll put the feta on last actually, because then I'll make the spaces for it to go.
Mhm.
But because I'm not going to toss the feta around because it'll kind of get all crumbled up.
Do you have a version by any chance at home of the feta that you use? Like, so we could see the package?
I wish. It's coming in. You know what? It's not even really branded. I don't know where they get it. It's Fresh Direct, and I don't know how many people who now have access to Fresh Direct, but they do sell it, and it's just like by the pound.
And what's a special kind that you like though? What type is that again?
It's still a sheep's milk feta. And it just happens to be, I don't know when they call it French, what exactly the difference is between that and say a Greek or a Bulgarian feta. But in terms of flavor, it's still the same milk is being used. I guess possibly just the salinity is different. They're just using less salt in there, or the brining is different or something. So it tends to have a really creamy flavor to it. But honestly, I've done this with all the fetas that I've had easy access to, the ones that you can buy in the package.
So I'm so into it, right? We were in Greece for 2 weeks and I'm so into feta now because I just like realized that there are so many different kinds and they all have different textures. And, that's why I think I'm being very specific on this one. Like if you found that it's a French sheep's milk feta,
that happens to be
looking at that, right?
It happens to be our favorite, but I've done it with all of them. Which one do you love? Like having been there, now I'm really curious.
I have one that I like.
What you like? I want to know.
Yeah, I have this that I've been loving right now. It's an Aphrodite barrel aged feta. So it's a Greek goat's milk feta. And I use it in so many ways.
So many ways.
Yeah. And again, I love it in eggs.
I love it in eggs. Yep.
It's such a different feel, right? Than what you're used to. So that's a good one.
One of those great things to keep in the refrigerator because it can be there for you for all the recipes. It's like I always, when I'm sort of going through and having my staples, it's always on the list of the staples, just how I roll. And if I can't find that French one that I've sort of been, like waxing whatever, thrilled about, but I don't care. All the fetas I love them all.
I'm so excited about this because I've never done a sheet pan with feta on it. So like this. So I'm super excited to try this week, guys. For all of you, I know many of you are in our Target 100 private Facebook group. You're in our subscription. You're in our communities. If you make this, put pictures up. I will definitely be posting pictures for sure of mine this week. So yeah, so I think like having the larger sheet pans, or even sometimes I'll do 2 whole sheet pans.
Me too.
Right? And like you said, I buy everything already cut up or peewee, so I don't have to cut it up. So
100%. Yes.
I buy baby carrots, the skinniest little baby carrots, right? I buy the peewee potatoes. I buy the butternut squash already cut up. Sometimes I just have to cut down the larger chunks into smaller chunks.
Right.
I buy, just everything already done, because again, you can walk through the door and put that on a sheet pretty easily, go upstairs, change out of your work clothes, come back downstairs, and dinner's ready.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you're gonna load up a whole tray though, load up two, right?
Right.
And as you're eating dinner, let the other one cook and use it for leftovers, like we're talking
Just
about.
leftovers, right? And then I'm so glad that you said that, because also it made me think about how when you're doing like a planned intentional leftover, sort of like a next over thing, it really buys you like a whole nother dinner, or it buys you a couple of lunches. It's like you're making the same amount of effort to get a little handful of extra meals, and then you just don't have to think about it for the next day or two, which is another favorite cooking thing that I start doing usually in the fall. I mean, I'll do it even in the summer too, but in the fall it feels more sort of like necessary, because everybody's back in that routine, and I know that I'm going to be packing lunches for my daughter, and I'm going to be looking for something quick during the day. And so it's like, I love having that planned extra. So I'm so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, it's, if you're going to do it, do double and go for it. So people are asking if we can do the put up the recipe. I'll put up the one from the New York Times for sure.
Yeah, and I'm happy to add like my version. I can give
Right.
you the Lisa
Send me some
version.
notes on your version, so that, but I just want to keep people's minds open to the endless myriad of combinations that you could be doing here, right? So, you can throw small little beef chunks on there. You could throw it. There's no end to it on this particular type of cooking, and then you change it by, now you do use a little oregano and lemon versus cumin, which will totally change this, or some chili powder, and some, just so being creative on some level.
Exactly. Being creative, and not and sort of like not feeling like like you're hemmed in at all. Like you really do have like, this has a lot of leeway. And then, I think one of the takeaways that sometimes people don't automatically think about, but it can be so helpful, is this idea that once they're roasted, like even if let's say you forgot to put some seasoning on and you just did some salt and pepper and olive oil, or that was all you were thinking of. But then at the end, you were like, oh, darn, it really would be so great if I had blah, blah. Well, the big surprise is just take the veggies off the sheet pan at the end and toss them in like a big like work bowl with that drizzle of fresh lemon or maple syrup, and like that hit of flavor at the very end does something that's different and fabulous all on its own. So you didn't miss the boat. You can still change it up at the end too. It tastes great.
I love it. Well, and Meredith Leafman is on, and she is a phenomenal cook, and she was giving a great tip here to make sure that you leave space between the veggies, right? So that they will roast, because if you crowd that pan too much, it will steam. And we all kind of, I don't know about you, but I love those little crunchy bits,
I do.
about Brussels sprouts, right? And I will tend to get that big bag at Costco, and I'll tend to sometimes overcrowd the pan, because I think, oh, I'll just make extra on this one pan instead of going with the second. And it's always a mistake, because you get the bunch in the middle that are they're cooked, but they don't have the crispy bits.
They don't have the crispy bits.
Yeah.
The other thing that I sometimes will do, I don't know if anybody has the oven that gives you the option of the convection setting, which I guess is really kind of like also what air fryers are all about. Yeah. If you get that convection setting, it just means that there's air blowing around in the oven while you're cooking, and that helps that too. So sometimes if I'm doing sheet pan stuff, I'll do like, 410 convection, or you know what I mean, just to get that air that'll help with the crunchy bits. Yeah. And I've lived in places where I didn't have convection, and I know that this still works out just fine, but it is helpful to get that, because I always want it to. I want the brown bits. I want my broccoli to have like the little, crunchy tips.
Yeah. So sheet pans all fall, all winter, right? Really amazing.
And it also, it makes everything smell. It smells great. It makes the house smell great, but it also has this other thing that I love, which is all the cooking happens without this like sort of messy oil splatters all over the stove. Like, and you have the same thing where you have things next to your stovetop like I do. It's just like, oh my God, I love being able to use the oven instead of the stovetop sometimes because it just eliminates like all of that, like, okay, let's move all my stuff out of the way so that I can, not have oil on all my, it just, but
no, I think the ease is amazing with a sheet pan. And I personally do it. I line mine with foil. I know that's probably like now to go with, go with parchment paper, and like there are a lot of different conflicting, outlooks. I tend to go for just lining it with foil, doing what you say, putting it on there, drizzling it, tossing it around. The cleanup is literally nothing.
Right. Exactly. Like, I'm done.
Yeah. Right. So that's why I do it, because I'm ultimately like, I can't be cleaning dishes and pots and pans after. Right. And we use a lot of those pouch rices and stuff now too, because the boys really, they just have to have so much bulk. So
yeah. You gotta load up. You gotta load up with the sons.
So sheet pan, any other tips or tricks we should think about when we're doing sheet pan cooking?
I'm glad someone brought up don't crowd, because that is definitely helpful. I feel like, just making sure the oven is nice and hot before you go in, because I think sometimes, I don't know, that has a lot to do with the success.
And the drizzling of something at the end while it's warm, these are like life-changing tips that you're giving to me. Like David and I roast these carrots, just full size. We just cut them in half instead of long. Sometimes we do multicolored carrots and do the cumin, salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic. And then at the end, there's like this maple syrup drizzle that we do. And I mean, the kids go nuts for it because
so
that little bit of something that they recognize as like treaty. I don't know what it is.
No, it's totally true. It's like sweet and like yummy, and yet it's like, oh, it's carrots. That's fine. Like, then nobody like has anything to complain about vegetable wise. I mean, not that yours would, but kids don't want to eat the vegetables. But this does change the game. Like, I happen to love the butternut squash, and so does my husband. But the girls are kind of meh. But if let's just talk about just roasting butternut squash on a sheet pan, which is something that I tend to like to do. When it's done, and you did say olive oil, salt, pepper, right? I make this thing in a bowl that I have waiting for the hot cooked squash. And it's sort of the same idea where it's like, I think I do like some yogurt. I'm trying to remember yogurt, some fresh squeezed lemon, a little bit of maple syrup, and then the sort of surprise thing is a little bit of cinnamon, and you whisk that all together and you toss the roasted squash at the end, and it's just like, whoa, they'll all eat that. Like nobody can resist it. It's like, what is this?
Well, and you're kind of like, I was thinking as you were talking about the air fryer, because we have one, that does kind of look like a toaster oven almost.
Okay.
That you could almost make a mini sheet pan on there really easily. I hadn't really thought about that either. As if I just wanted for David and I quickly to make a little mini sheet pan, I could make it in there.
Right.
Yeah,
you can totally do that. Yeah, I don't have an air fryer, but I keep on, the younger daughter keeps pressing that we should get one.
No, my big purchase, I think, is the Instapot this year. So we're going to bring you back and do a whole episode on slow cooker, Instapot, soups, stews, chilies, like that whole thing. Well, Shelby agrees, right? She is excited. Somebody's outside the door. She's always trying to get on here. Oh, so Meredith also said making some sauces that you can add at the end. So it's sort of like you, right? A chimichurri, a pesto, or red pepper, oculus, or for dipping, right? But you could toss it, drizzle it over the top. Yeah. So I love that you're talking about cinnamon too. Like that's one of those great flavors that is coming into season now, right? Where your palate starts to really want that cinnamon. As like it's kind of cold and rainy here today, right? We've got feel like it's turning towards the fall, and we get excited. So I brought in, that's so funny, Meredith. I was like, what's a red pepper oculus? It's like like virtual reality red pepper dip. I don't know, but no. So it was coulis that she was saying. So I'm just giggling that I read it and thought it must be something I just don't know about. But now we know. That's awesome. Yeah, guys. Oh, I love it. Nancy is right now is so inspired, and she just popped a whole sheet pan of squash and broccolini in the oven with cumin. Thanks for the cumin idea. We use so much cumin. We buy the big bottle at Costco. Like we have the giant one because it's just such a great flavor.
It's such a great flavor, and it's so adaptable, kind of like the cinnamon. It can be savory or it can be sweet. You can do all this cool stuff with it. I love when spices can go both ways.
Yeah. Now, Anna McGuire's asking us, how about different types of meats? Any recommendations on a sheet pan? I'm guessing is Anna. If I got that wrong, let us know. But I'm assuming you want to know about the meats we could put on this sheet pan as well.
We could put on the sheet pan. I think the only thing to keep in mind with that, and the reason that I kind of sort of lean toward those sausages, like the chicken sausages and whatnot, is just because I know that the cook time is just going to kind of be like a no-brainer. You don't have to sort of plan it or sort of, guess. I would think you could do, that said, you could pretty easily do like chicken tenders, if you kept it, the whole thing is like keep it small so that you don't have to worry about the thing cooking in time. And then as long as you're not going to be completely thrown off if it goes a little past perfect doneness, then like no worries really, especially with a chicken. I'm trying to think of like what else might be.
Else is saying Meredith is recommending chicken thighs.
A chicken thigh, they might need a little longer. That's the only thing. If I would think if you did the boneless, you might, and you kind of like open them, because sometimes like when you buy them, they come kind of formed nicely so that they stand up and they look sort of, I don't know.
Like a thigh. They look like a thigh.
But if you kind of want to, unfurl them and flatten them out, you get more surface area. Like just sort of think of it this way, the more surface area, the quicker the cooking, because the heat can touch more places and get its job done quicker.
Yeah.
So that would be the way that I would do it. And I have done a chicken thigh version of this, like a slightly different recipe, but yeah, I do that from time to time as well. I just sort of open them up.
Well, and I'm a huge fan of you see back here, I've got like my cast iron skillets. And
Me too.
I live on them I live for cast iron skillets. And Meredith is also saying this. Sometimes she does a separate sheet pan and toss together after. A lot of times, because again, I like the brown crispy stuff. Like I would take chicken thighs by themselves while I throw that sheet pan in with the veggies and the feta and all of that. I would be searing up those chicken thighs.
Yeah,
in the cast iron with some good spices, and then shove it in the oven right next to it.
That's actually completely genius. Or you could do that, Liz, or you could just take the mini and you could put the chicken, like depending on how much you're making, but that could be another thing to do with a second sheet pan where you just are doing your protein and you're, like if it's chicken, or you wanted to do, you could even do it with fish, and you could sort of just kind of create this dual sheet pan situation where you've got the protein and you don't have to worry like, oh no, it's all in the same pan. One thing's going to be done before the other. It's like, well, no worries. You've got a whole separate pan going on your, your chicken or your beef or a fish or whatever. So then you can kind of do it.
Yeah. As I say, I'm always trying to keep it simple, but that could, just really kind of be some ways to do it. I like that you mentioned fish. Were you thinking like shrimp or,
Shrimp would be really good. They'd be really fast. You could almost throw those in. You could almost go right straight up like in the beginning. That would be another really great sheet pan project. I could see that happening. Like really. Oh, now I'm like, what would I want to that?
Maybe we develop that recipe for T100.
For the shrimp, yeah. Like now I have to think about
a shrimp tomato feta sheet pan. I don't know.
I think that would be really great with like
really
oregano, just like it would be really good.
I love it.
But I mean, you could even do like, sometimes what I'll do is just like, I'll just do, I like salmon. I'm a huge fan. I always sort of like, just,
little salmon steaks you would put right on there.
I would do little like maybe even little fillets, but I was also thinking the other one that I like to do is the Arctic char, which is basically exactly like salmon, except it tends to be, I don't know, just because of the the fish itself, you tend to get that sort of the thinner fillet. You're not sort of faced with like, oh, this really tall. So that's another one that can cook quickly because it's low and it's flat.
Yeah.
And it's very salmon-like.
Yeah, I mean, and all of these things would work well with, whatever these bases are, and you just kind of mix and match, right? Through,
You can mix and match, and you could use this full same philosophy to almost also like, have a dinner out of it, and then even do like 2 whole other sort of just sheet pans for like batch cooking ahead, the proteins and the veggies for like multiple days. Like you can really just get into this sheet pan mindset, and you can be like, okay,
I am in the pre-cut sheet pan mindset. So hardcore. Guys, like I will go to the grocery store's salad bar and everything's already cut up. So if you want to do it that way, you can. I buy a lot of the stuff at Costco in the bags. It's already cut up, the broccoli and they have the butternut squash already cut up, and but like to save yourself time on the other stuff, or like things that I hate cutting, like onions or something like that, I go with the salad bar there's
that's
a lot of that stuff already cut up for you in really good ways. So you can completely take full advantage of all those like conveniences they really do save a ton of time. There's something to be said, not having to like, okay, I have to like peel all the skin off the onion, and it's sticking to my fingers now, and I gotta get that up, and then I gotta cut it. And then I smell, and like everything that I was hoping for from this is like, nah. So
right. And people like, you watch people do it on a cooking show and everything seems so easy, but the truth is everything takes like 3 or 4 extra steps in real life because nobody prepped it for you. You get, unless you buy it already done.
Yeah. You see them like bringing forward this beautifully prepped stuff, and you're like, well, who did all that work?
Exactly.
I would say that, I mean, in the last few years, the grocery stores sure have gotten their acts together in terms of like having a lot of. It's more expensive. I give you that. It is sometimes so ridiculous that I do it myself. But the act of me cutting up a butternut squash is like a full hour and a half of my life. It feels like,
And if I am so with you. And if your knife isn't like really sharp and up to the task, and sometimes my knives are like, I'm like, damn, I forgot to sharpen my knife. And then you can barely get the knife even
dangerous. It's dangerous. I'm going to spend more in health insurance than. Forget it. After I chop off my finger, right? So I love this. Erin Bigelow. Erin is an amazing T100 rock star, and she said we need stickers that say Sheet Pan Squad. We are like T100 Sheet Pan Squad because it is such a healthy way of preparing food. And I'm like you. I will, and it is usually on a Sunday. Just throw in a sheet of butternut squash, a sheet of broccoli, and then use that throughout the week in many different, in so many different ways. Someone was saying, just throw it on top of a salad. I love roasted vegetables on my salad. Like it's, and now guys, like thinking about the fall salads and the pears and like, like things like you can put in a salad now versus I was doing a lot of peaches and goat cheese, now I'm going to kind of rotate over into apples and pears and all these sort of like more fall-y fruit in my salad, and then parts of this sheet pan left over from last night. Holy cow, that would be an amazing lunch.
Yeah, it just gives you like that sort of easy to add on like flavor and variety so that you don't feel like, oh, well, I guess I'm just going to have that salad of greens and, some cukes again. It's like, no, look at this. This is going to be heaven because, don't forget the feta that we always have in the fridge. We can have that. We can have, it's like yummy roasted vegetables and fresh fruit that's seasonal. All that stuff. It makes it really like something to look forward to. You don't feel like, oh, this is kind of a drag, but I guess it's what I'm going to eat. It's like, no, I'm like excited for this.
Totally. Well, and I liked, just the idea of, making it just a little bit different. And you said something about like the veggie sausages, right? Like the Beyond sausages. You could cube those up and use that instead of a meat sausage, right? And it's just slightly different. It just has a little something that so you don't get bored.
You don't get bored. Exactly. And not that it's like so flavorful on its own, but another thing that sort of adds texture and adds a little interest too is like, a can of chickpeas, just drain them, rinse them, dry them off a little bit. And you can add that too. And like suddenly they taste really good because they're mixing in with all these other flavors. And that's like another
Love
kind of
chickpeas.
just
Chickpeas on anything for me, right?
not, yeah, exactly. Like if you're not eating the meats, it gives you another, my older daughter doesn't eat the meats. So I'm kind of well versed on how to, you know, create the veggie version of things. And the chickpeas are always like kind of an extra help in
I
that.
love it. I love it. Well, I also brought, so we, as we discussed this, we said like, hey, you bring something and I'll bring something. And hopefully between the two of us, we'll really be hitting 2 meals and this transformation into fall. So my contribution is to really talk oatmeal.
Yes.
To just like and to have your expertise here and to talk just about, so for me oatmeal is it really coming back right now, just a little bit of like insider, especially for weight loss, you know, in terms of oatmeal, and our sugar challenge that is going on right now, guys. It's sort of like yogurt. Get into learning how to love plain oatmeal and season it yourself versus buying something, you know, these little packets that are flavored, this maple brown sugar that has 17 grams of sugar in it. And that's almost the entirety of sugar that you should have in a day in your one packet of oatmeal. The other part that you need to know about when it's instant oatmeal, like this, when they say instant oatmeal, it's because they've gone in and they've actually shaved down the actual grain itself. They've cut it in half. They've made it half as thick, half as sturdy, half as filling. And that way, when it soaks up the water, it cooks very quickly. Try to stay away from instant oatmeal. Get the slow cooking. That will be the full grain for you. It is more delicious. It is so hearty, and it really carries flavor for me so much better. This is really watery by the time if it's plain and it's instant. So going for like an Irish or a steel cut oatmeal or something like just full slow cooking oats. It'll take you a little longer, but I'm guessing that you have some overnight tips. As I just think, you know, making up a cup of, you know, 2 cups of oatmeal, again, on a Sunday, keeping it in the fridge, just plain, like I don't put anything in it. Then during the week, I will actually have a lot of fun. So like one of my favorite things to do as we get into pumpkin season is I'll put a couple of tablespoons. So I'll take a serving of the oatmeal, put it in a bowl, put a couple of tablespoons of pumpkin, a splash of pumpkin pie spice.
Yeah.
Right. And I incorporate that all in. So it gets this nice pumpkin-y flavor. And then if I need a bit of sweetness, I'd much rather put like a drizzle, like not even a teaspoon, not even a half of a teaspoon, really quick drizzle over the top of honey. And that is just outrageous. So I'll do pumpkin. I do apple pie spice with apples. I do banana, a little bit of really ripe banana like this, like is my favorite, right? When it's ripe and sweet, just a third of this banana in, heat it up, incorporate that in, and a little bit of the Justin's cinnamon almond butter.
Ooh, that is really good.
Yeah. So I try to get you guys really thinking about using this sort of like we're talking about the base of the sheet pan and then getting creative around it and having a lot of fun with it. So like Erin Bigelow was asking, like, I'm here because I really need some meal planning, you know, advice of like, for me, I've got to just always have these bases, and then make them delicious because we have to love what we're eating every day, you know? So do you do overnight oats? I've never done them. Isn't that the funniest thing?
You know what I have, and it was driven mostly by my daughters. They were the ones who were very into the idea. Like it was such a big, like, you know, TikTok and social media thing, I think. So they were the ones who were like, you know, like, let's do the overnight oats. And I was like, okay. So, but it ended up being, it's funny because I don't have it in front of me, but I did a formula in the book that I wrote a couple of years ago. I have an overnight oats formula, and that's really like my favorite kind of way to do it. And it's kind of this, and books, I have to go over there to get that, but I could show it to you. I could even like send you guys what I wrote, but it is, you know, this, like, you can use this much of the oats plus this, you know, this much, how did I do it? Like yogurt plus a little tiny bit of sweetening plus, it's like a formula, and you can change up the different, flavors, but as long as you sort of stick to these proportions, you just set it up, leave it overnight, and then you're ready to go in the morning. And it's like kind of a great thing. And the girls were really into it. So I was like, okay, great. Here we are.
And the base, like, let's just talk about the base for the second, right? Like, because some people do it with oat milk, some people do it with water. I've always just been a water person.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the water totally works. I'm trying to think if I generally, when I was working on testing it, I think I was using some of the, like the oat milks, maybe. I don't remember if that was the case, or possibly whole milk. You really can use anything, but I think that it's better to not go to the thicker things. Like I think the yogurt kind of makes it a little weird. Like I think water or the milks are the way to go. That was my takeaway.
I've always just done the milks, like, so, and it worked out so well.
It's really good. And then you can flavor it in all different ways. I think I even did one that was like a coconut. This does stick in my mind. It was like a coconut and lime one where you used, like the coconut milk, the kind that you buy that's refrigerated, like those sort of, they, whatever, in the refrigerated section. And I think I used that, and then like some lime zest, and then some of the coconut, not sweetened, just like the unsweetened sort of shaved toasted coconut. And like, that was amazing. That tasted like I was on some vacation or something. I was like, ooh, lime and coconut. I wouldn't have, I don't even know what made me think to do it, but I was like, this could be interesting, and it tasted amazing. So that was a good one.
I love it. So tell us in the chat, guys, if you guys are making oatmeal, like what are your go-tos? So as I say, I will have plain oatmeal. I will season it up in a million different ways, but always for me, also the addition of like some chopped walnuts with like that, just that little. So oatmeal, I think people fear it. I want to make sure that, like, I had someone reach out to me. I put up a picture yesterday. I've been obsessed with making egg McMuffins for breakfast.
I saw that, Liz. I love them. I was totally into them.
I love it. And so I'm obsessed with, like, this morning, I can't wait to put this picture up, but this morning I made an egg McMuffin, and I had an avocado that was like, just like mushy, like deliciousness, perfectness, like past like where you'd want it in the salad, but where you're like, I want to make guac out of this. So I just smashed the avocado on the egg McMuffin with the Canadian bacon, a slice of American cheese today, and then a good egg over medium. And like someone said to me, are you using a low carb English muffin? In the comments, and I said, I'm not, and I'm saying this all for a reason that does come back to oatmeal, I promise. So an English muffin is 28 grams of carbs. On Target 100, I have 100. Everything else that I named really has almost no carbs whatsoever. So, my breakfast then is just about a third of my day, and that's just fine. I have plenty of space to have a real English muffin in my day. And I don't mind a low carb English muffin, but I don't need to, I don't need to fear. I'm always trying to teach people not to fear, like they did when we were at Weight Watchers. They would try to hoard their points.
Yeah, no, it was crazy.
They never want to use any points, in the morning. And I found like oatmeal is another one of those things that people are like, oh, but it's so carby. And I'm always like, no, guys, it's really not. It's really not that bad, right? You're in the 20-25 range of carbs. But when you add things like nuts, or even you can get a little savory, put a little olive oil in it. You can do all these different things with it. Nuts, a little almond butter, some pumpkin pie spice.
Totally.
The addition of some protein and fat. So there's already in oatmeal, yes, there are carbs, but there is a good amount of protein in oatmeal, which makes it very filling. So the fiber and the protein in oatmeal really hold you. So you'll find that you're snacking less. You'll find your blood sugar very even. The addition of cinnamon only pops that blood sugar evening out even better, right? So I just don't want people to fear oatmeal as, because I do find that people want to just be like, I'm just going to eat eggs in the morning because then I got everything left for the day.
But you're right. It's like, if you feel like you've had something that was really satisfying, and you feel like it filled you and it tasted great, you're like, you don't feel the sense of like, desperately sort of hunting around for something else to eat, because you had the full experience. It's like, if you're using the carbs like that are going to be for your day in a good way at that time, you're good. You're totally fine.
that's the longevity piece that we teach so much about, which is like, there was nothing I wanted more than what I made this morning. There was nowhere I wanted to be. There was nothing I wanted more. There's like, I sat there and was like, this is the greatest thing ever. And so I don't feel like I'm like on a weight loss program,
No,
right? Because I've
right.
developed all of these staples in my life, including oatmeal, including lots of sheet pan things. And that's just happened over time.
Right.
That's just happened over a lifetime of doing this,
Doing it. Yeah, making
I was thinking about our life together at Weight Watchers, and we did a lot of food shoots together, and we did a lot of like content development together. And I was thinking like it might be fun for people to hear, like, because you were constantly at the other end of that support line of people asking for things. What did people want the most from you? Like, what's the thing people ask for the most? My memory of what I would see all the time was that people wanted us to give them things like pizza and cheeseburger and French
I
fries.
was gonna say that was the overarching feeling. It was like turn the things that I love into sort of like Weight Watcherify them for me.
Yeah,
Like make them more, I don't know, lower the points for me so that I can still have this. And I think there were some things that we stumbled upon when we were doing that did kind of turn into like things that I have kept with me in my eating life and that I've really like enjoyed. But what I found so freeing about sort of looking at like the Target 100 perspective on things and the sort of the carb, keeping an eye on the carbs and not being so worried about, the oil, is that I can really just like enjoy a roasted sheet pan of cauliflower where I just put the right amount of olive oil to make it delicious. And then I'm happy. And then I don't need to like, feel like, oh, I had this really kind of you know what I mean? Like
exciting,
underperforming
tasteless
thing.
stuff.
And it's not all dry and weird because I didn't have enough oil to make it taste right. So it's just like, for me, that doesn't feel like diety or deprivation-y at all because I'm making it the way that I would want to make it. And then I'm satisfied, and feeling satisfied is really so much the key, I think, to making
Yeah,
you feel like you're not dieting. You're just eating the way that you're meant to eat for your
yeah,
life, to
yeah.
me.
Well, and you recently lost 20 pounds.
I did just before the pandemic started. I started like, without even realizing that like it was the whole Target 100 kind of philosophy. I did sort of a lower carb, like, focus, whatever. It was basically everything that you guys and now I can say us guys because I'm part of the group now. I feel like it's just like this is the thinking that makes the most sense, and it was basically that. And so yeah, I started to.
It's such an interesting conversation to me as I'm listening to you and thinking about our lives together, like, and how that was it, like the thrust at Weight Watchers is always like, turn this into something that I can eat
Right.
that resembles pizza. It doesn't really look like or taste like pizza, but it says it's pizza, and then I get to eat as much pizza as I can or want
Right.
because they've made it a 0 point pizza, right? Whereas over here, I'm always trying to teach you, eat the pizza. Learn to sit down and eat, revere the pizza, make the pizza. Sure, we can make it, sometimes we make our pizzas here on low carb tortilla crusts, and they're delicious and we love it. But I've also learned, I was at our local pizza place with the boys as their first day of school. We went to like this place in the neighborhood, and they make delicious wood fired pizza. And so I got the beet salad, and I had 2 pieces of their pizza, right? And it was totally doable.
Right.
I had eggs for breakfast. It's that when we demonize pizza or say we have to manipulate pizza to make it fit into our diet,
Right.
instead of saying I have skills, I would much rather eat that delicious real pizza or make something or eat oatmeal than try to like always be skimming it into something that
some fake, like never satisfying version. And you always feel like you're chasing that thing that you never get to have. And it kind of just fosters this craziness and this kind of over need for eating, but because you're never eating the thing you really want to be eating. And it's just like, it's so crazy. And so, yeah. And like exactly like your pizza thing, I feel the same way. There's this really great, I don't know how many of our viewers are sort of East Coast people, but, or even in like the New York City area, but Raza, I don't know if you've been to Raza, Liz, in
No.
Jersey City. They're frequently cited as like, the 5 best pizzas in New York City. The number 1 is not even in New York City, it's in Jersey City. And it's this place, Raza, and they're doing like the most beautiful, like wood-fired pizzas. It's just like it's at the level of Italy, where they're so sort of like everything is just amazing. And it is spectacular. And it's like, if I'm gonna have that pizza, then to me, like that is worth just like enjoy the pizza. Don't even think twice about like whatever. If it's just some random slice or whatever, I'll be like, okay, whatever. I can just have a single slice. But one of the things that I always do, regardless of whether it's the most delicious pizza and it's Raza or it's just whatever, I'll always sort of think to myself now, like, I'm gonna also have a nice big salad, so that I feel like I've had plenty to eat, and I'm not gonna be like grabbing the, maybe the second or third slice of the mad pizza, or the, eighth or ninth of the, whatever. It's just like,
Well, and that is like once we turn these foods, like that's like why I thought it was so interesting, like those requests that you would get over and over of recipes to put into the cookbook were always like these decadent foods turned to like 0 points. And I think that it really taught us to fear the real thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so weird.
And if we ate it, we were therefore then bad people. And so we better eat as much of it as we possibly can, because we're never going to do this again. And we'll start tomorrow, right? So I'm always trying to take that line away and say, like, no, you didn't hurt anybody, didn't kill anybody, you had a sliced pizza. I hope it was delicious, you enjoyed it. If it was learning to like have a bite of like street pizza in New York City and be like, this ain't worth it.
Right.
It's not worth it. Whereas before, if I did, I would like quickly fold it in half, and like as I walked down the street as fast as I could, chainsaw it down, like, because I'm not going to give up this pizza, even though it tastes like a shoe. I'm going to eat it because I'm giving myself pizza, right? So, so I love this. Like, so I want to really always be teaching, not just like a recipe and not just like talking about oatmeal and sheet pans and fall, but to say like, keep moving your lives towards delicious food.
Delicious food. Yeah.
You're learning to trust yourself when you eat, learning to take the time to do one extra little thing, like drizzle a little bit of maple Dijon onto your sheet pan after it's done. Those magical things that you taught us. So
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting to the hour. I'm watching. If anyone has any other questions, please type them in the chat. But I just want to thank you so much for being here today.
This was great. I am so excited that we got to do this. I loved it.
Well, and we're just going to keep being here for people. You guys are going to start seeing recipes pop up from Lisa, lots of fun content. So, and we'll even make pizza if you want us to, and it'll be delicious. That's what I can promise you. I do want to just kind of share that we have a whole bunch of amazing things coming up, guys. If for any reason you want to have a coaching call, coaching calls are available tomorrow and Tuesday. That we never do this, guys. Maybe once a year, we open our calendars up for just 2 days. So you can book a call with me, you can book a call with David, Ashanti, Lynn, or Michelle, 30-minute calls. When I tell you, we will inspire and motivate you, make a plan for you in just 30 minutes. So you can book those calls. We will send out that link into the chat. I think maybe Tree, if you're listening, or Laura, you could put that link up for us for the coaching calls that are tomorrow. I've got my calendar blocked out and I have a couple of spots left. I know Ashanti, David, Lynn, and Michelle have some spots left, but they go fast. So pick up your spot if you want a little bit of personal one-to-one. And then we have our Target 100 beginners courses are open. Guys, these are starting next week. Again, we only do these a couple times a year. Amazing 10-week live course with me and the Target 100 coaches. You get a beautiful box in the mail. Inside of that box, you get a Bluetooth connected water bottle, a Bluetooth connected scale, and a tracker, and the Target 100 book. And they all connect for the first time ever together onto our proprietary new Target 100 app. So you get worksheets, recipes. Lisa will be there. You'll get a one-to-one coaching call included in your purchase of the Target 100 Beginners class. They're $599. That's for the box, 10 weeks of classes plus a coaching call, and all the rest works out to $59 a week. And you keep those devices forever. So it's actually a huge bargain. The course dates, we start next Thursday, is the first course is Thursday. Then after that, there's one on Sunday, the following Monday. Whatever your date that you choose, that date is your date, and you will do that day and time for the 10 weeks. We record the sessions in case you miss them. You can go back and watch them. For a lot of you guys, if you've done my beginner course before, we are kicking off a next level course, which I teach, and a mastery course, which I teach on the 19th and the 20th of September. So reach out to support if you want to get in on the next level or the mastery and you're not a part of these new beginner courses with a box. We will figure out how to get you in and on the platform and a box and all the rest. So lots of things going on, but I want to let you know coaching calls are tomorrow and Tuesday. And then courses get started on Thursday night and they start rolling out in that next week. So if you want to join us, please do. Great.
Awesome.
We're also going to put up the link to the beginner's course in the chat as well. Any other questions from my amazing group here? I mean, we really have just a fantastic group of folks who have done really well in our community and on the plan. So now we have this amazing Lisa in our group, in our community, and you'll be seeing a lot more of her. So thank you for sharing your Sunday. We will definitely be doing this more often.
I'm excited.
Yay. Well, I hope to see some of you guys in the courses. We just put that link up. Feel free to come on by. You can also go to target100.net, go to our offerings page, and you can kind of read a little bit about it. Lots of folks really enjoyed this. They're thanking you. They're looking forward to all these delicious things. Guys, please put your sheet pan pictures up for me. I love to see your pictures in the community. So thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Liz. It was really fun. And I look forward to doing more. It's been great. This is
I love it. All right. Have a great Sunday.
You too.
Bye.